Sasha Martinengo.
Storming down the pit lane.
Weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central African Time. On
Big question going on in the world of Formula One at the moment. If you are unaware, let me explain to you a little bit how Formula One works. Formula One is governed by the FIA, the Fédération Internationale Automobile, which is headed up by Jean Todt. For many, many years, it was run by a gentleman by the name of Max Mosley. Formula One itself is, in the process of perhaps getting listed on the Singapore Stock Exchange. Besides that, it is owned by a company called CVC, but the controlling interest and authoritarian, if one could say, is Bernie Ecclestone. And the way that Formula One has been run over the last 30-odd years is through a document called the Concorde Agreement. Now, the Concorde Agreement is a document which is signed by all of the teams that are participating in the world of Formula One. It usually runs over a 3 to 5 year period, that single document. This document is only seen by the teams themselves. It is not for public consumption. And even though there have been reports that certain documents have come to light and people claim that they've read the Concorde Agreement, no one really has an original copy of the Concorde Agreement. This is an agreement between Bernie Ecclestone and the company that runs Formula One and the teams as to how the sport will continue. It includes the monies that get distributed from the commercial side of Formula One to the various teams. For example, if you get certain amount of wins, you get X amount of television money. If you get 1 point, you get this amount of money, etc., etc., etc. Also, to that Concorde Agreement, there are clauses, and as I say, hypothetically that a team like Ferrari will get X amount of money regardless if they come first or last. Bang. That's how these things work, but we don't really know what it's all about. Now, 90% of the teams have signed the current Concorde Agreement. One of the teams that hasn't signed the Concorde Agreement is the Mercedes AMG Petronas F1 team. Now, the reason why the Concorde Agreement needs to be signed is that it enables the sport to carry on forward without too much disruption. For example, if you sign the Concorde Agreement and then withdraw from the sport, you will pay massive penalties. So it actually doesn't cost you to leave the sport. So it basically is tying in the various manufacturers, the various teams for a longer period of time, so that people can't just sit there and say, oh, well, I've won 8 races this year, look how fantastic we are, we want to withdraw. You've got to have some kind of commitment. One team that hasn't signed the Concorde Agreement is Mercedes-Benz. Now, don't forget, Mercedes-Benz only came back into the sport in 2010. They bought the Brawn team from Ross Brawn and decided to go as a manufacturer again. Now, according to the French newspaper Auto Hebdo, they're saying Mercedes-Benz is considering a partial withdrawal from Formula One at the end of 2013. Now, they're still yet to sign the Concorde Agreement. So, if they do decide to pull out and sign this Concorde Agreement, then we will only know once 2014 comes what they actually signed. But perhaps they might just go in as the AMG F1 team, or perhaps as just the Mercedes team. It's all speculation, but it is a very reputable French weekly auto magazine, the Auto Hebdo in France. It says the Mercedes maybe would focus more strongly on engineering than team ownership and management. Now, don't forget, they've had a tremendous record as being suppliers of the McLaren team for many, many years. Of course, they also supply the Force India team as well as themselves. Now, the reasons cited for Mercedes' rumored change of direction are because of the banker Gerhard Gripkowski. Now, you remember we spoke about him a couple of weeks back. He is at the center of the corruption scandal involving Formula One chief executive Bernie Ecclestone. And now all of a sudden Mercedes-Benz using it as a little bit of a loophole, I've got to be honest, by saying, you know what, well, there's a little bit of rumblings in the world of Formula One. We're not entirely sure if we want to be here, which I think is just a sort of a cowardly way of saying we haven't really achieved what we want to achieve, and now our shareholders are getting a little bit upset. I think it's sad if Mercedes-Benz do withdraw, whether it be as Mercedes-Benz or as a partial withdrawal, or try and sell the team, because I think it's important to have teams like Mercedes-Benz in Formula One. We saw it years ago. BMW pulled out when the whole of the downturn of the economies, recession started. We had Honda pulled out. We had BMW pulled out. We had Toyota that pulled out. We had Renault that pulled out. And this is not good for the sport. And this was warned to Formula One by Max Mosley in those days. So it's another one where you've got a bigger organization, massive manufacturer, who sits there and goes, listen, the only reason I want to stay in Formula One is because I want to win. And then from there I say, oh, look what I've done. Fantastic. I've used Formula One to the benefit of my company. And that's not how Formula One should be run. One should be in there for the long term. So let's hope that this report that has come out from France, that Mercedes is considering a partial withdrawal, are unfounded, and that they do sign the Concorde agreement and are at least there until at least 2017.
GearsOnBulls.co.za with Sasha Martinengo.
He's kept himself out of trouble.
Weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central African Time.